So let's go ahead and now solve a passage which is based on philosophy. So we are going to work on this passage in two different rounds. Round 1 is where you read the passage and solve the questions. Round 2 is where you and I will read the passage together, we will understand it, and then we will dive into the questions along with the answer choices. Okay, so during your reading of the passage, during the round 1, when you are on your own, if there is a word, if there is a sentence that you could not understand, make sure that you highlight it, and later on when you and I sit down and discuss it, you can then ask it from me then. So ready? Shall we start? So there you go. Here is slide 1 of 3. Go ahead, read it, start, and then we see. Okay, taking you over to the next in 10 seconds. 10 सेकंड में आपके पास अगली स्लाइड आ जाएगी. So take this, make the best of these 10 seconds. Okay, so here comes slide 2. Okay, so 10 seconds and I switch you to the last one. And here is your slide number 3. Okay, so are we done? So Atharv says that he is done. How about the others? Varsha, anyone else? If you can give me an input, then I can start. So I've also kept my pen ready so that I can start jotting down your answers. All right, so here is your question number 1. You have 90 seconds. Use the seeker of your YouTube video to go back and refer to the relevant part. I am just using this as a timer. What 90 seconds is, it just moves in 1 minute intervals. So we'll let it go till 30 and minus 30 and then we will start. Last 15 seconds. Kabilan, I'll help you, at least I'll help you visualize this particular passage for sure. Okay, so I notice that your answer is B. Do refer to the passage, okay? Go ahead. Whoa, Mrityunjay, IP mat. Array, great. Good to see you. Chale, giving you 10 more seconds and then we will move over to the next one. Really nice, huh? So these things are definitely relevant for IP mat as well. So be my guest. I'd be happy to host you for the evening. Okay, so next question number 2 and your clock starts now. We'll start up after 90 seconds, okay? So we'll start at 30. Okay, so I notice A, I notice D. Okay, let's see what else you guys choose. $15 to go. All right. So here is your question number 3. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and attack. Varsha, is that your answer? Is that your answer to the third question? Or was that one? Was that for the second? $10. Okay. B. All right. Giving you some extra time. Okay, B from others as well. Okay, so here you go. Let's get into our fourth and the last question. Here it is on your screen, and let's go. $30 to go. All right, so we have D. Anything else? Any other option? Anyone else who's choosing something else? Okay, so with that, let's get into our round 2, where you and I read the passage together and then dive into answering the questions. So here is the passage. Now, I'm going to take you through a lot of philosophy passages during our association until the CAT exam. I chose to start with Plato because when it comes to Western philosophy, he's easily one of the most influential philosophers. In fact, there are people who say that everything that, so in Western philosophy there is Plato, and then everything that came after Plato is nothing but a footnote to Plato. That important, that significant, right? So let's go ahead and check. So many people associate Plato with a few central doctrines. What exactly is a doctrine? So you can say central principle, central rule that are advocated in his writing. So there are a lot of people who associate Plato with some specific principles or beliefs that he mentioned in his writings. The world that appears to our senses is in some way defective and filled with error, and that's the central doctrine. Okay, according to Plato, the world that appears to our senses is in some way defective and filled with error, but there is a more real and perfect realm populated by entities called forms or ideas. Those forms or ideas are eternal. They are everlasting. People do not last forever. Okay, but those forms are everlasting. They are changeless and in some sense paradigmatic for the structure and character of the world presented to our senses. What do you understand through this? So let us take an example. Can you describe what you see on your screen? What is this? What is this? So this is a dog. Okay, how about this? Is this a dog as well? This? Is that a dog? Is that a dog? Is that a dog? Is this a dog? Now, I'm sure you'd look at each one of these and you'd say, puppies, dogs. But then, yeah, this dog is different from this dog, which is different from this dog, which is different from this dog. All of them have different shapes, sizes, colors. Yet, you are able to see each one of these and call that a dog. So, Plato says that there is this idea of a dog. There is this eternal, changeless world of forms, ideas. He says that there is this idea of a dog. Now, when you look at that idea in real life, you'd see an approximation of that idea. Each one of these are dogs, yet they are different, but at the end of the day, all of them have what you'd call the property of being a dog. Let's take a more, let's take an example which is closer to the cat. Okay, geometry. You know what a circle is, right? Now, what I've drawn here, is that a circle? Chances are that we'd say yes. But then, if you look at it carefully, it is not perfect. It is misshapen. There are some points which are closer to the center, some points which are slightly farther from the center. And that's how the world is. But then there is a form of a circle in your mind which is perfect. Your world can give you a lot of circles which are an approximation of that circle. So your world is not perfect. It contains errors. It contains approximations. Right? So, according to Plato, he said, he gave a very famous analogy. It's called Plato's cave analogy. So, according to that analogy, Plato said that, now imagine there are some people who are chained in a cave. They live in a cave, they are chained there, they cannot go outside. They have a light source behind them, a fire. And then there are people outside of that cave, and they pass in between that fire and these chained people. Their shadows form on the wall of the caves. So all these people, they pass, their shadows form on the cave, These guys cannot turn behind. The only thing that they see, the only thing that they notice are the shadows. Here's a video, a tiny GIF that explains it. So here are people who are chained. There is somebody who passes behind them. Now all that these guys see are this shadow, and they think that the shadow is the reality, whereas the reality was the one that was behind them. So the one which is behind you is the actual truth. So in a way, that cave is this world, we are here chained, and then outside of that cave there is this true world of form, true world of ideas. So if somebody were to escape this cave and move out, for a brief while the light will blind that person, but he'll gradually become accustomed to it, and it's only then that he'll be able to see the truth, the reality, whereas those who are in there will continue to be condemned to notice only the, or see only the shadows. So now that we know this much, now if I look at it again, you realize what he meant by forms, what he meant by ideas, and the world that appears in his senses is somewhere defective and filled with error. Things in this world are never perfect. So there is an idea of a tree that exists independent of a tree. But tree comes in all sizes, shapes, colors. You still, because you have that idea in your mind, you are able to look at a tree and identify it as a tree. Okay. So among the most important of these abstract objects, as they are now called, because they are not located in space or time, are goodness, beauty, quality. So basically there are these forms. These are some of those important forms. Otherwise you can call tree, circle, dog, all of those are forms, but they're not that important. These are the big ones. So that's what the first paragraph is essentially about. Then the most fundamental distinction in Plato's philosophy is between the many observable objects that appear beautiful and the one object that is what beauty really is. So you notice many observable objects. I went on to show you a lot of different types of dogs versus there is this idea of a dog. So there is a difference between many different types of dogs that you see and that form, that idea of a dog. From which those many beautiful things receive their names and their corresponding characteristics. Nearly every major work of Plato is in some way devoted to or dependent on this distinction. Many of them explore the ethical and practical consequences of conceiving of reality in this bifurcated way. Bifurcated is object versus the form. We are urged to transform our values by taking to heart the greater reality of the forms and the defectiveness of the corporeal world. Now this is where corporeal is. Corporeal basically means related to the body. Okay. Is this sorry, corporeal, you've heard of corporal punishment. Have you heard of corporal punishment? Physical punishment. So similarly you have this same thing, corporeal. Corp is body, corporeal is related to a person's body, which in this case is the actual physical world that you see outside. No corporal punishment, the physical punishment that is given in the schools, which is banned supposedly now, but not at our time. So we got a liberal dose of that. So this root word corp basically means body. So corporal is corporal punishment, punishment given to the body. As a corporeal is related to a person's body as opposed to belonging to a person's spirit. Okay. Then we must recognize that the soul is a different sort of object from the body. So now we are saying soul is different from the body. It does not depend on the existence of the body for its functioning and can in fact grasp the nature of the forms far more easily when it is not encumbered by its attachment to anything corporeal related to body. In a few of Plato's works, we are told that the soul always retains the ability to recollect what it once grasped of the forms when it was disembodied. So this is basically something that if you are a practicing Hindu, it is essentially law of karma. And the soul, the rebirth, reincarnation kind of comes very easily to people from our part of the world generally. Okay. And sorry, we missed out on a line. And that the lives we lead are to some extent a punishment or reward for choices we made in a previous existence. Karma and reincarnation. Okay, then next, But in many of Plato's writings, it is asserted or assumed that true philosophers, those who recognize how important it is to distinguish the one from the many, the form from the objects, are in a position to become ethically superior to unenlightened human beings. Why? Because of the greater degree of insight they can acquire. And that is why you would notice a lot of people, including Plato, said that we need to control our senses. You realize our senses can fool us. If you take a stick which is straight, put it in a glass of water, to your eyes it will appear bent. But in reality the stick is straight. So our senses can deceive us. When we gain control over those senses, we are able to become closer to the ultimate truth. So understand which things are good and why they are good. We must investigate the form of good. So you diminish senses, you become more proficient at doing this. Although these propositions are often identified by Plato's readers as forming a large part of the core of his philosophy, many of his greatest admirers, most careful students point out that few, if any, of his writings can accurately be described as mere advocacy of a cut and dried group of propositions. The rest is simple. In case you don't understand it, you can ask me and I can help you. Okay, now going over to the questions, let me pick up the sheet where I jotted your answers. For first, the answer that you shared with me was B, and that is indeed correct. The most fundamental distinction, form versus objects referred at multiple places, absolutely spot on. The rest, since you guys could rule it out. Second, in the context of the passage, what is the meaning of the word corporeal? Related to a person's body, right? And that is why bodily as opposed to material. I think I got A and D. A is actually the opposite of D. That's going to be an antonym. Since I've already explained the meaning to you during the passage, I think we can then skip it. Khushi thinks physical. But then when it comes to physical, physical can also be something that belongs to the world, right? This pen is a physical object. I am a physical object, but when you talk specifically about a human body, you tend to use corporeal. I think you're picking up C because I also gave you the example of corporal. Corporal is physical, corporeal is related to a person's body, and that is why Vedant, I think that's Vedant, right? That is why bodily is going to be superior to physical. Is going to be a better choice than physical. Here is the third question. According to the passage, the soul, let's see, depends on the existence of a body for functioning. False. We know that it can act independently. A soul can understand forms more easily when it is not attached to a body. Let us check. Let's go to the relevant paragraph where soul was talked about here. So here you go. Soul can in fact grasp the nature of the forms far more easily when it is not encumbered by its attachment to anything corporeal. Which means that when the soul is free of the body, it is able to grasp the nature of the forms far more easily. Which means that B is true. Soul does not have the ability to understand some of the forms it encountered when it was disembodied. False. When it was not a part of the body, it knew all the forms. D. Soul is permanently associated with one person only, cannot be determined in all likelihood. False. And that is why our answer here must be B. What is bodily? Shyam, related to a person's body. So bodily is an adjective that basically means related to a person's body. It's like if I ask you what is if I say what is, pick up. We have, for example, I've taught you critical reasoning. So during critical reasoning, I took you through this word called verbal. What is verbal? Related to words. So if somebody has sent a verbal message, the message was sent using words as opposed to using signs or symbols. right? Similarly, bodily is related to body, connected to body, referring to body. And here is the next one. According to the passage, Plato's arguments were not unambiguous. Hang on. So when you say not unambiguous, it means that his arguments were ambiguous. Ambiguous basically means they were confusing. Their meanings were not clear. Or you can say his arguments were not definitive. So he did not make any definite claim, but that's false according to the passage. He very clearly talked about this distinction between two things. So A can be eliminated. Plato's works were at times self-contradictory and amorphous. Self-contradictory basically means that Plato in his works said two things which were contradicting each other. Did we find anything in the passage which said that Plato's works are self-contradictory? No. Amorphous basically means something which is shapeless. In this context, it would mean that his ideas were not organized. You could not put them under a single category. There were all sort of diverse ideas which were not connected to each other. Once again, not something that we can determine from the passage. C, his works revealed that Plato was at times unhappy. How do we know he was unhappy? Perplexed is confused. So was Plato unhappy? Was Plato confused by his own theories? We don't know. Nothing can be said about this on the basis of the information that we have just seen in the passage. And then it says A and C only. So can we pick this up? So Sham says D is right. Are we sure? So are we sure? So going by this यार इनमें से कुछ भी नहीं होना चाहिए. None of these should be right. So am I right or have I read the passage wrong? What's happening? So tell me, what do you think? See, this is what happens when we don't refer to the passage. This is what generally happens. So let's revisit. Can I say that Plato's arguments were ambiguous? Is there anything in the passage that tells me that his arguments were ambiguous? Let's start. Check this part. Check this part. Many of his greatest admirers and most careful students point out that few, if any, of his writings can accurately be described as mere advocacy of a cut and dried group of propositions. What does it mean? It means that there is hardly any writing of his that can be termed as advocating for a particular group of statements. There is no writing of his that can be termed as a writing that supports a particular position, a particular stance. So on the basis of this, can we say that his writing was ambiguous? If a person does not support anything, can that person be called ambiguous? Tell me. No. Can we accuse that person of not being definitive? Yes. If you do not support anything, you are not being definitive. So I can definitely get definitive, but I cannot get ambiguous from it. Now let's read the next sentence. Often Plato's works exhibit a certain degree of dissatisfaction. So if a person is dissatisfied, can I say that he is unhappy? Yes. If they show puzzlement, can I say the person was puzzled, that is confused, that is perplexed? Yes. So now that we have referred to this particular part of the passage, let's go and check. Let's clear it up and now see. Plato's arguments were ambiguous? No. Were they not definitive? Yes. So it's half correct. We are not very sure of this, but we are sure of this. And then his works reveal that Plato was at times unhappy and perplexed. Absolutely yes. So which one should we choose now? Only half of A is right, but C is completely right. So should I choose both A and C? Because of this, we cannot. So basically, if a part of an option is true and a part of an option is false, then the final label that we apply to that option is false. The overall label that we apply is false. And that is why we will not choose A and we will choose only C. All because of this. Not taking a stance in favor of anything does not mean that you are ambiguous. If two people come to me and they say that, hey, both of us are standing in elections, why don't you support us? If I refuse to advocate for any of these two, if I refuse to support those two, that is also a stance. I can stand up and say that, see, I am not supporting either of the two. That's also a stance. So you cannot call it ambiguous, and that is why the best answer for us here is option C. And this is the only question where I could understand that because of this particular part we had this issue. Then somebody asked me about ambiguous and perplexed synonyms. See, when something is ambiguous, it means that that statement can have more than one possible interpretation and we are not able to figure out the correct interpretation. So statements are ambiguous. An ambiguous statement can leave people perplexed. An ambiguous statement can make people confused. So it is not exactly, these two words are not exactly synonyms, but yes, ambiguity can be a cause for perplexity. I hope that helps you in finding out the relationship better. So that's where we stop today. You know where you can reach me after the classes. We have this Telegram group where we have a fabulous community where people help each other a lot. So if you drop your queries, I or somebody else will definitely get back to you. And before I sign out for the day, just keep at it every day and you are going to be delivering phenomenal results just in a few weeks. So keep at it, and I look forward to meeting you in the next session. We will meet each other on Wednesday now. Until then, keep studying hard and let me know whenever you need me in the group. Take care. I'll see you. Yes, यशिका, तेरे को रिकॉर्डिंग देखनी पड़ेगी अभी आज. यस, आज शायद चैनल में कुछ और काम के लिए उनको ना चैनल चाहिए था किसी इंटरव्यू वगैरह के लिए. तो पहले हमारा प्लान यही था कि शाम को करें, बट वी प्लान टू गो लाइव एट अराउंड 7ish, but then because of that conflict we thought that we will change the timing, and it's available. You can go ahead, attempt it, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So take care. See you guys.